So next we're going to slip south of the border, and we're going to have Lucas Criswell from Lewisburg, Pennsylvania, down in central Pennsylvania, come and chat with us about some of the things he's doing. I met Lucas and Mindy at a session that Ruth Knight from Teeswater put on at an event in Cambridge in the summer of 2015. What was interesting there was it was quite an organic crowd that was there. And Lucas did an amazing job of helping them understand what he wants to do. And the quote that I remember most, Lucas, from what you said to us was, I don't want to be restricted by the tools in a specific toolbox. I want options of all those different tools in the various toolboxes, and that stuck with me. And I think you'll be impressed with some of the things that Lucas is doing. They haven't all worked for him, but he's persevered and kept going, and I'm impressed with his story. Recognize it is in southern Pennsylvania, but a lot of what he's talking about, I think, is very capable up here. So just as a quick introduction, Lucas is a veteran no-tiller that grew up on the moldboard plow, chased his dad around and around the field, getting a dirt tan to prove it. Dad adopted no-till in the mid-'80s on corn and soybeans in the early 90s. And soybeans in the early 90s, sorry. And never satisfied with the status quo, cover crops came in the mid-90s, because of mandatory of what he saw in his own operation, he's continued down that road. Lucas Criswell.
I guess I'm one of the biggest experts here since I might be the farthest away from home. But as the last gentleman that just spoke, you just set yourself up for another presentation. Once you do it once, then you're going to do it again. They're going to ask you to do it. And that's what happened with me about 4 years ago. I never thought in the world I'd be standing up here giving presentations. You just ask my wife. And when you start talking about some things that you're passionate about, it kind of comes natural. And I think that's what's kind of unique about it. There's a couple things I've learned. It's only my second time up in Canada. I learned that you guys over here in Canada must be a lot better at directions. You don't need road numbers on your roads around here. You just need road signs, and there's not lights on a lot of your road signs either. So you really got to pay attention when you're up here. That's what Ian asked me to talk about, compaction. I'm talking tomorrow also about some things. And this morning, listening to all you guys talk about your compaction, I'm not going to tell you what I'm doing is going to fit exactly in your situation, but I know there's some gentlemen here that are following in some of my footsteps, and maybe some few things that I might bring to your attention you might find a fit on your operation. So it won't really fit everybody's need, but I know driving up here there was a lot of bare ground. There's no snow up here. Everybody told me it snows up here in Canada. Well, I don't see no snow. A little bit of snowdrift here and there, but this is my dad and me bouncing my head between these little posts back here in the early 80s. As the gentleman asked earlier about a 16-year-old driving a tractor around a 90,000 pound piece of equipment. This is how you learn. You bounce your head across some posts a couple of times. You learn from absorption. But we farm about 1,700 acres. I can't read that one too well. Oh, I can read right here. That might help. Corn, beans, rye, peas, and canola. We started growing peas about 4 years ago. I heard Mr. Gentleman earlier about the controlled traffic, about the peas. Some of you heard Dwayne Beck talk on other things. He kind of engraved into me about challenging me to try some other crops on our operation. And the peas have been a unique fit. We found some local markets for them. Some canola. We're doing some non-GMO canola also for a local gentleman that's squeezing it, and it's a direct-to-market cooking oil. But I've been no-tilling pretty much half my life. I just turned 40 in October, but I grew up on a moldboard plow and a chisel plow, as you can see. I know why I was the one always out doing the tillage, because my dad didn't like to do it. But I grew up walking right into the no-till, and my dad was one of the early adopters, and now I'm an early adopter, and he's the one fighting me most of the way on a lot of this early adoption. But I'm pretty perseverant. But we also do a lot of custom lime spreading, the precision ag stuff the gentleman talked about earlier in the morning. It's pretty near and dear to my heart because I've been an ag leader dealer for 4 years, but I've been using precision ag for close to 10. I can assure you that the precision ag is definitely here to stay and not going anywhere. It's a lot of unique things coming to the forefront on how to collect a lot of data, and it's scary on the data that you collect that you don't realize you collected until you start looking down and analyze it. I have a agronomist that I work with. He has the time to sit down and look at a lot of this stuff. But Ian asked me to talk about compaction, and I don't really know how to go there since we've gotten away from the tillage. Compaction isn't at my forefront all the time. It's something that we take for granted sometimes. So it's something that one gentleman this morning talked about tractor pulling, and he must have read my slide because I'm going to intro into a little bit of what we talk about compaction down our area. How do I start that again? Just click. Which one? This is actually me. This is my tractor. Talk about proper compaction and proper traction. This is what 100,000 horsepower is used for these days. I don't really think 500 horsepower is needed in the field, but at least we can use it on the track. I work with our local fair. It's kind of hit me this summer. Anybody ever helped build a tractor pulling track before? How do we make a tractor pulling track? Well, we use a tandem disc harrow. We don't use a no-till drill. We use a tandem disc harrow to disc it up. And again, we disc it multiple times to break it down, make smaller particles, because we all want that perfect seed bed. This is my harrow and color packer. This is our scraper and roller we use to roll the track in, but some people use a harrow and color packer. So we create this perfect seed bed, but might be a little bit too tight. This is nothing new, but I'll kind of bring it up that soil compaction is known as soil structure and degradation. And this is something that degradation is what kind of sets a tone to me of really paying attention to your soils. And I'm definitely not a researcher. I'm just a farmer up here explaining to you some things that we've seen on my farm and try to relate it forward to guys that want to kind of open your eyes up to watching things. But the degradation and the increase of bulk density, which is something I started to hear about only within the last year or so, because we don't deal a lot with bulk of compaction issues in our area. But we do have a lot of soils that can deal with compactions also. But our area has been in such a long-term no-till that it's just been an afterthought. The compaction can adversely affect nearly all physical, chemical, and biological properties and functions of the soil. Together with soil erosion, it is regarded as the costliest and most serious environmental problem caused by the environmental of agriculture, conventional agriculture. So I do a little digging. I don't have pictures. We didn't have smartphones, like you said. They're only 10 or 11 years old of tillage. We have your deep ripping. And my silver bullet for guys to take home about how to get rid of your compaction is just to sell it. It's real simple. I've heard guys talk about getting rid of strip till tools and that. Everything comes in sequences. Some might say we might go back to the moldboard plow because of our resistant weeds. I'm going to stay in front of that curve, and we're going to beat that other ways around. All we need is a little root to help break up that surface compaction or even some deeper compaction and just a matter of not disturbing that top layer at all. This is actually some 15-inch rye, oats, peas, vetch planted with a Kinsey brush meter. A rye root can exert up to 150 to 300 pounds of pressure. This is actually only about after, about 30 days worth of growth in the fall after soybeans. Our soybeans are harvested in mid-September to late, middle of October. We have jumped up our soybean planting, or shortened our planting, our soybean days to get a better chance of growing some cover crops out here. And this is where I don't feel like I'm in the right place to be telling guys up in Ontario what they should be doing, but I know there's a lot of guys that are adopting some of these practices. But what's pretty unique, in a few days you can get root growth across this 15-inch row. And there's no tool out there that can help make that all happen. It's pretty cool just to be able to see your root growth down through it at such a short amount of time. In our area, there's a lot of no-till adoption, and we're still having a lot of issues with infiltration. This is a waterway that was put in to help take care of this wash. Well, apparently the water's not getting in here anymore, because the question is, has the waterway captured sediment, or has this field actually gone down some more, eroded some more? And we started to realize we still needed a lot more protection than just no-till in our system. And that's when we started to adopt looking at planting into something to create some armor, because we're definitely going backwards, we're not going forwards. This actually has 2-inch tall rye in it. This is in the spring. This is on a custom job I'm spreading some lime for a neighbor. And he burned this off when it's like 3-4 inches tall, and he felt good about it. We're no-tilling, we're planting the cover crops. This is great. Soon to realize that we're not gaining. This is my neighbor's farm. He's an organic farm. I ain't beating up on him. As Ian said, I'm just showing you what I see. I actually farmed this farm. It was a relation of ours. It got sold. I was too young at the time to get a chance to buy it. As the gentleman talked about competition and whatnot, it's pretty stiff in our area, really stiff. But I think compaction and infiltration definitely go hand in hand, as the gentleman's talked this morning. What we think we're doing with tillage and that, and loosening up the soil to take care of weeds and other issues, we're still being detrimental to our soil structure and not allowing for infiltration. This is alfalfa fields, 30-inch bean field, alfalfa field. This is an Edam soil. It's shale with dirt in it. It's some good dirt. I farm it. It should infiltrate. On my farm, I have upwards of close to 10 inches an hour of infiltration. This is after a 2-inch rain event. He's going to bump across these bumps across his field for a long time. So in 2015, I like to see the fathers here with some of the sons in that, because it's all about handing down the baton to the next generation. And my dad and I have separate operations, so I'm able to try things on my farm, and he always wants me to try things first on my farm first, see if they fail, and then when they didn't fail, he said, "Why didn't you do that to mine?" I said, "Well, you didn't want me to." So actually in 2014, we started to plant into big rye. We've been planting in the green covers for the last 10 years. Dealing with some slug infestations, we started to realize that the green rye helped deter the slugs a little bit. And that's what I'm just trying to get at with Ian asking me to talk about compaction, is there's a whole systems approach of why I'm not concerned about compaction anymore. And our soils can compact like your clays can also. any soil can be squeezed enough to create a compaction issue. But once we start working with larger amounts of residues on your surfaces and help building that structure up to mediate that pass with the tires or the trucks. 2015, we adopted Charlie Martin's rollers on my corn planter. The year before that, we planted right into the standing rye. This is only about 40 pounds of rye with a little bit of hog manure on it. We spread about 2,000 gallons of hog manure on every acre about twice. 2,000 gallons of manure goes farther with one truckload, so I'm getting less passes through my field. I can cover more acres. It takes a little more time, but we able to feed the cover and not just a corn crop. My goal is to start building that cover first, and in turn the cover will feed your corn. So in 2016, I wasn't happy with this cleaned row. Too much exposure. A lot of you guys are all strip till guys. My goal is to protect the soil, and we had some weed escapes through here, so we configured a roller to eliminate the row cleaner and end up with a solid mat of rye like that. And everybody in here is going to say that corn's never going to grow up through that, right? Extension, everybody else says it'll never work. Guess you guys don't have extension up here though, do you? Universities, rye kills corn. It's pretty cool planting this. It's just like mowing hay down. This is one of our fields this year. We are in a pretty dry area, except we got a small rain pocket. It's one of our best yielding fields. It yielded well over 200 bushel corn. Who thinks this looks like 200 bushel corn right here? How do you compact that? How do you have issues with compaction with that? This is on top of my hill just to prove to you how tall the rye was. This is a kind of the aha moment for me. It was 3 years ago, the first year planting in the big rye. We had a 8-inch rain event in 1 hour. Just a small pocket. Just about washed my house away almost. Because my house kind of lays down a valley and everything come right down through there. So my biggest concern is what our fields look like since we've been, it's our biggest asset on our farm. But this is kind of unique watching this, that we had absolutely no movement of soil whatsoever with the residue. But then here again in this picture, something I learned without not even realizing it. Does anybody see a difference? We didn't really talk about nitrogen management at all because we're talking about compaction, but for me personally, nitrogen is always more important in compacted soils than uncompacted soils, but I started to realize that these green leaves are on the bottom of this corn yet, in this big rye. How many green leaves you see there on the bottom of that corn? Very few. So what's that telling me? That's telling me that our corn is still being fed through this huge carbon penalty that this rye has provided for us. Now, I didn't get into the whole details. I only had 30 minutes here to share with you folks. I'm going to be sharing a little bit more about some of these slides tomorrow, but we put about 60 pounds of nitrogen down with the planter. And we do about, I use ag leader optic sensors, and we're going through and doing a on-the-go side dress application of some UAN again also, varying anywhere from another 30 to 60 pounds sometimes. This was that field. I had a side-by-side of just soybean stubble. Rye burned off early in the big rye. There was actually no difference in yield. What I love about this picture is what's growing here. The weeds. Mother Nature will want to take care of itself. It wants to be covered. It wants to be protected. This actually, I don't have that side-by-side information. But this actually was an untreated corn plot. Anybody ever plant untreated corn in here? You're crazy guys like me. That's good. I'll talk a little bit about that tomorrow, but we had a side-by-side of untreated corn, and there was absolutely no yield difference whatsoever, but it was late in the season. Soils were warmer, a little more drained than that. It wouldn't be my first pick to go out there in the middle of April and plant untreated corn, that's for sure, and some low wet ground, but just some things we're doing on my farm. Might have went through a little bit quicker than I anticipated, but my agronomist and his daughter took this video to put together kind of how things work. This is actually the center of the field, so she'll show you a bigger part of the field then. It'll get to some noise then later, but a couple people were asking me how I put my nitrogen. We just put our nitrogen right out the back of the planter. I used pop-up years ago. We have a low rate manure application through a lot of our ground. And you can see this is pretty thin rye. It's not thick. When guys called me beginning of May this year and says, oh, my rye's up to my chest, what do I do? The first thing I ask him is, says, well, how thick was it? Well, I planted 2 bushel. And I said, boy, I hope you didn't put any manure or nitrogen on it. He said, well, yeah, I put 3 tons of chicken manure on it then. I said, I bet it looks like 5 bushel. He said, yeah, how do you know? So I always tell guys, air to the good. You can see how sticky it is. This is a pretty heavy clay in this field here, sticking to my tires. I don't know what percentage slip that was. It was a pretty good hill I was pulling up over. It was not prime conditions when we were planting. This is about the 10th of May. Running a Thompson closing wheel here. We're having issues with wrapping. The other side of the planter, you'll see we're running some rubber closers. Just squirting nitrogen out the back. This roller, I actually, Charlie Martin and I actually kind of worked together and built this roller just for my planter. They didn't really have anything out for Kinsey when I was interested in doing something. Yep, that row's going right on top of it. That's what happens when things jump around. There's a little bit of rape that was mixed in with this, a little bit of peas, a little bit of crimson clover. The problem is the rye. The rye definitely dominates in your mixes. Last year, this was probably about 40 pounds of rye. This year, I have about 10, 15 pounds of rye in it. That's all I got.